So S&box Through and Through is a completely odd yet intriguing experimental game that Gary Newman and his studio Facepunch have been working on for the past couple of years. And since its final engine switched to Source 2 and rework of tools to be closely replicated to the popular game engine called Unity, this does come with a huge reminder that not only a lot of these changes do come with many risks, including that most of the developers and playtesters running into new walls and obstacles will have to also deal with these changes too, making many developers be completely turned off from developing any new games on the future platform and waiting for the game and tools to be fully fleshed out and stabilized for the future without having to worry about random catastrophic changes that will break or nuke many months of work that they've spent developing their games. As one of the many channels that is covering the game's development with new updates and announcements and is actively still doing so far within its recent state, the game and community has felt a bit lackluster, and it's rather understandable as there has been some changes here and there. But many folks have been waiting for the new game jam that will be happening at some point in the future. To some, it would seem odd that there's even prize pools done for a game development competition in a game that's not even fully out yet or finished with development. But this does give many developers in the community an initiative to come together to make games for the sake of their time, effort, and showing off what other cool games that they can make within Facepunch's heavily modified Source 2 engine, and also to get paid. The most recent blog post that we have gotten any update on was from 4 months ago, which had announced the winners in the last game jam. Many of these new games were incredible and awesome to test out, but ever since then, majority of these games have disappeared from the platform, either due to development updates for them or other unknown reasons. Gary also mentioned in the last blog post that due to issues like player population counts and not having enough players to test the games itself, that an idea of releasing the game would actually solve this problem, but also create other problems in the process. This release would end up happening after the next game jam, which would make sense since they would have the head start it needs for many players and developers to tinker and mess around with not only the games, but the game's tools when it comes time. Of course, development and commits to the game recently have been quite focused on one game in particular that the Facepunch devs have been working on, which is called HC1. HC1 is pretty much like a Counter-Strike clone with S&box. And while I took out the time to actually record some alpha footage of the game, it's incredibly early, but the game was somewhat fun to mess around with. Now, I do want to clarify, while I do feel like this next part is going to feel somewhat negative, I'm just honestly speaking about how I feel personally with the game currently. And while eventually it will change within time and it's really not finished, it does highlight something that I've learned about game development while I've been covering the game from the outside looking in. And it's that game development in general is not pretty at all. And that's okay. It's not supposed to be since it's being worked on. If there's anything that I've learned whilst I've covered S&box is that the game's development has been very messy. From engine switches to game tool switches to breaking the game numerous amount of times with changes that also piss off the community and turn others off in the process, to the art style and game itself going into different directions that are completely unexpected by parts of its core audience and possible future audiences interested in the game too. It's all understandable now to see what's going on in S&box, and a lot of people are probably not going to understand that because they only see a cookie being half baked in the oven and say, ew, I don't want that. And of course, you're not going to eat it half baked because that's the point. You got to wait until it's actually finished. But rambling aside, let me sum this up now. Right now, between the game and the community does feel a bit lackluster in my opinion. While it's understandable as an alpha and developer preview, it feels like the initiative for creating games right now is kind of low. And while there are many developers who are actively working on games in silence, some have moved on and others have decided to wait, either for the tools to become more refined and also not have Gary break things, or others that are waiting for the next game jam to possibly get paid for their efforts and also show off what other new cool game ideas that they might have been working on when there's a resurgence of interest and eyes that return back to the game. Plus, with the mess of game development and other things that will eventually be worked on, it's quite a lot, and it's understandable why some people feel the way that they do with this game even in the state. Of course, this does come down to some form of ignorance and lack of understanding about game development that some people are not going to understand fully until they see the process of how a game is made. But I still do enjoy covering this game through its highs and lows, as it's a game that I'm personally interested in wanting to play and see where it goes for the future. In the meantime, I have been covering other games like Valve's new MOBA shooter called Deadlock, which has been pretty fun. And if you want my personal takes or talking points on the game, feel free to check out this video right here, and thank you for watching.